All right, guys, so we're going to try and tackle problem number two. Number two is very similar to number one. I've given you a complex or irregular shape, and there are no dimensions to it, and I did not divide it up into squares or rectangles yet. So remember, when we're trying to solve for area, we want to do the length times the width, but that's only works for rectangles and squares. So we need to take our complex or irregular shape and we need to turn it into squares and rectangles somehow. And there's many ways to do it. So my example today may be a little bit different than how you see it. But the first thing we're still going to do is we have to come up with all the dimensions. So I'm going to start down the side, and I'm going to count my squares. So I know there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I know this is 7 units down. I'm going to count my way across the bottom. 1, 2, 3. So it's 3 units across the bottom. I'm going to count my units up. 1, 2. I'm going to count my units across. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to count my side up. 1, 2. I'm going to count my units across. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to count my units up. 1, 2, 3. And my last side, I'm going to count across the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now, because I have all of my sides labeled, I'm actually able to solve for the perimeter right away. Because remember, the perimeter, in order to figure out the distance around the outside, you just have to count up all of the sides. There's not many doubles here. There are a few. So what I would say is I'm going to start at the top, and I'm just going to work my way clockwise around all of them. So I'm going to organize my data. So I'll put my P for perimeter. I'm going to start with my 4, so I'll cross them off. I have 2 3s here, so I know 3 plus 3 is 6. I'm going to cross those both out and put a 6 down here. Now I have these 3 sides here. I have a 2, a 4, and a 2. And I can add all of those up. 2 plus 2 is 4, and 4 more would be 8. So I'm going to cross those off, and 8. I'm going to do the bottom is 3, and the long side here is 7. And now what I need to do is I need to add all of those up. And again, I'm seeing some numbers here that I like. I know 4 plus 6 is 10. I know 7 plus 3 is 10. So I'm done with those. I'm done with those. I know 10 plus 10 is 20. And then I add my 8 that I haven't used yet, and I would get my perimeter is 28 units. So I can fill that in a while. I'm going to call these feet instead of units this time. So I'll put feet up here. So I'd say my perimeter is 28 feet. Now the hard part is we need to solve for the area. And what we have to start looking at is trying to find ways that we can create squares and ways that we can create rectangles. And everyone sees it different. It's just kind of like multiplication, where some of you like to use the area model, some of you like partial products, some of you like the standard algorithm. Every person sees it a little bit different. So I see 3 rectangles right away, and I'm going to use my markers just so you can see them a little bit. I'm going to take my blue marker, and I'm going to cut right here. And then this that I'm going to hide in blue is going to be one of the rectangles. I'm going to use my black, and I'm going to cut right here. And I'm going to make this whole part a second rectangle. So I'm going to highlight it here just so you can see it a little bit better. I know it's hard to see. And then I'm going to use my red, and I'm going to highlight this part red. So now I took my irregular or complex shape and I turned it into 3 rectangles. A rectangle at the top, a long skinny rectangle in the middle, and then another rectangle at the bottom. And because I was able to turn those into rectangles, I can use my area formula of length times width to come up with the area. So I'm actually going to have an area of my top section in blue, an area of my middle section in black, an area of my red section at the bottom, and then I'm going to add those 3 areas up, and that'll be the total area. So I'm going to start up here at the top, and because I made this blue, I'm going to put it in blue again for you. I know that the top was 1, 2, 3, 4 units long, so I'll put my 4 up here again just so you can see it. I know it was 1, 2, 3 units down the side, so I'll put my 3 over here. And remember, I can multiply those together. So the area of my first box in blue, I'm going to kind of erase this just so you can see a little bit. 4 times 3 is 12. So this section here is going to be 12 feet squared. So that's the first part of my area. I'm going to go down here to my black triangle. And what I need to do now is I have to count the whole way across the top or the whole way across the bottom because those are the same distances. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to erase my little squares just so you can see a little bit better. I know that the distance across the top and the distance across the bottom is 7 feet. Well, in order to figure out the area, I need the length and I also need the width. So I have the length of it. Now I can figure out the width. So I'm going to look at the sides, and I know this one is 1, 2 units, or over here would be 1, 2 units. So again, I'm going to kind of erase this in the middle just so you can see a little bit better. And I'll put my 2 right here for you. And again, because I created a rectangle, I can multiply those together. So 7 times 2 is 14 feet squared. So just to kind of recap what I've done so far, I took my irregular shape, I divided it into 3 rectangles. I had a blue rectangle at the top. I multiplied the length 4 times the side 3 and got 12 feet squared for the blue. I measured the top, which was 7 units, and 2 inches or 2 units down, and I got 7 times 2, which is 14. And the part that I have to finish now is this little red rectangle. So again, I have to count my length. 1, 2, 3. So I know that's 3 feet. I have to get my side, my width, 1, 2. So I know it's 2. And because it's a rectangle, I can actually multiply them together. And I know that 3 times 2, let me erase this just so you can see it, would be 6 feet. Now, to get my total area, I'm going to have to add up my blue, which was 12 feet squared, my black that I found that was 14 feet squared, and my red that was 6, and I'm going to add those 3 together. 6 plus 4 is 10, and 2 is 12. Carry my 1, 1, 2, 3. So I know my area for this complex shape is 32 feet squared. So let's add that up here. So 32 feet squared. All right, gang. I'm going to have you guys try to do the rest. I think there's 4 more problems. Don't get frustrated. This is a little bit tough. If you're having a hard time, please send me a private comment, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can, and I can probably walk you through the problem and help you that way. Good luck. Have a great rest of your day.